And there we are, Joseph. Good evening, everybody. Joe Rayo, Fios 1 News, Lower Hudson Valley.
And Joe Cioffi, Fios 1 News, New Jersey, and Long Island, where they hit 60 for however brief interval of time.
This morning, right, I briefly got to 60, and then just as fast as it got to 60, it dropped back down into the 40s, and now those temperatures are continuing to drop. We're seeing the arrival of cold air. We've got a very cold Wednesday. Some spots not getting to 40, which is average for the end of December.
Made all the colder by the gusty breeze that'll be blowing tomorrow afternoon, I think.
And, of course, then it's going to be setting the table for Thursday, where we've got a snow threat. And we're going to talk about that, and we are going to live stream the new NAM. And I know that there are folks like James Harris and Daniel Kirby who were on the YouTube live stream an hour ago, so now they've jumped on because they want to see the new NAM too. Let me just really quick do just a little bit of business and shameless self-promotion.
A little bit of alliteration, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But for those of you who are have an Android mobile device, my app is out and ready to go. And Joe's you're gonna check the foos?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll do the shameless self-promotion in the meantime. So if you've got an Android mobile device, my new weather app is out. It's absolutely free. I'm going to give you the link. If you have an iPhone, you're going to have to wait a little while longer, but I'm hoping in the next week or two that we have the iPhone version out as well. Google's faster than Apple when it comes to approving all this stuff. So I've just put the link up on the chat. And when you are done, take a look at it. Again, it's absolutely free. And you might want to also consider using that in conjunction with my weather platform on Patreon. And I'll put that link up as I will put that link up as well. That one is a subscription link, but doesn't matter. You can get the app is free. So again, it's for Android devices only at this point. And you can look ahead to maybe next week with a little bit of luck we wind up having it here in time for Thanksgiving, and certainly I would like to have it going here for the winter time. And speaking of the winter time, let's move ahead. Not out yet. Okay, so the mystery continues. Okay, so let's I'm going to bring up I was able to, one of the problems tonight, Joe, was Mount Holly. I found out was having technical difficulties with updating their forecast maps, their weather service forecast map, the snow forecast maps. But I was able to do a bit of an end around, and they had a PowerPoint up there. But before we do that, I just want to kind of go over again. This is what I went for, and it's pretty close to what we're going for tonight. Going for with respect to Fios, and there's my map. Mixed terrain along the immediate coast. A slushy inch or two as you start moving inland toward New York City, and then you get into northern New Jersey, especially in the higher elevations and in the Hudson Valley, 2 to 4, might even push the upper end of that in some places.
Right.
A little bit of upside surprise possibility in some places too.
I find it that you have the boundary between 2 and 4 and 4 to 6 crossing right through the northwest corner of New Jersey. High Point State Park is there. They're, I think, 1,500 feet above sea level. And certainly, if there's any place I think that's going to get more than 6 inches out of this, it might very well be High Point State Park.
And the other issue, too, by the way, is that there will be a changeover, probably a changeover to sleet and rain and at the coast. But inland, that changeover may take a while, and in some places it may take a long while. So there could be some ice buildup Thursday night.
What does not show up and what you really can't do this is like a straightforward boom, boom, boom map.
Right.
But there are places in the lower Hudson Valley and in northern and northwestern New Jersey, valley spots that kind of pool that very cold air like a bowl, so to speak, and which you just cannot scour out.
It never gets out of the way.
And so as a result, there may be some places that approach or maybe even briefly hit 32, but never, go above it, and as a result, they stay frozen and it just gets a mess up there.
Right. All right. So here's just real quick before we get to the dam. This is this was Upton's forecast. They're in central Long Island, so they cover Long Island, southern Connecticut, the lower Hudson Valley, Dutchess County, south of Dutchess County, and the northeastern counties of New Jersey. So you can see along the coast of Long Island, less than an inch. Islip, they've got in a 1 to 2. The North Shore, 1 to 2. Back to New York City, and then you start to get into 2 to 3, 3 to 4 inch snow amounts as you move up through northeastern New Jersey and in the Hudson Valley. I don't think this is unreasonable.
No, I don't either. I said, in fact, in the forecast I posted on my Facebook page, Joe Ray Weather, I said 1 to 2 inches south of 287, 2 to 3 inches north of 287. This is strictly for the Hudson Valley now. 2 to 3 inches north of 287, and 3 to 5 inches with maybe even slightly higher amounts along and north of the Interstate 84 corridor. As now you're getting into northern Orange County, Ulster County, Dutchess, Sullivan County. Up there again, that's where they'll get the lion's share of the snow, if there's any lion's share to have.
Right. Mount Holly's going for less than an inch for much of central and South Jersey, but you start to get go north of the Route 1 corridor, and you get up north of 78 and 80. They're going 2 to 3 and 2 to 3 into eastern PA, Doylestown, Allentown, and so on. Down to Philadelphia's got them in the 1 to 2 zone into northern Delaware. They might be a little bit on the low side, I think, on the northern end of it, but that's what makes a forecast. But they are kind of emphasizing more the ice for those areas in the Poconos and on up into northwest New Jersey with 1 to 2/10 of an inch of ice.
Right, and as we've been saying all along, to get the snow part of this forecast correct, we really need some dynamics. We really need the intensity of the precipitation initially, a thump, so to speak, to bring down that precipitation fast enough to help cool the atmosphere for a short interval of time and put down that snow.
Right.
If we don't get the thump, or if we don't get as an intense burst initially, what will happen is we'll start off with snow, and then we'll gradually see that mix to ice and sleet or whatever. And I would be more concerned about the ice, obviously. And in fact, if you take one brief look at the maps, the upper air, for example, it would suggest an icy more than a snowy situation, because the boundary line that we usually use for snow versus rain, the 540 decameter line, that's way north of us.
Right.
You say, how could it possibly be talking about snow if it's so far north? Well, it's possible because what we have embedded, or will have embedded for the next 24 hours, 24 to 48 hours, is a shallow but dense pool, if you will, of cold air that's going to be difficult to dislodge. Add a little bit of intensity in terms of precipitation, and you could end up getting more snow than ice.
And I'm just going to show you the cold air. This is the new NAM. We're looking at roughly just under 5,000 feet. And the blue focus, forget the red lines, the curly lines that are out there, but just focus on the blue, the solid blue lines. Those are the isotherms, with the 0 line coming through now. And when we get to, this is Wednesday morning, up at that level, we're talking about -10, -9, crossing Long Island and central New Jersey, -12. That's in Celsius. So this is, cold air is advecting in. And now, of course, we're setting the table for Thursday morning. And the line you're going to want to watch is the 0 line, which at this point, at 1 a.m. Thursday, is all the way down into Delmarva and down into northeastern North Carolina. So
right.
The freezing line at that level is pretty far to the south, and then it's going to start pushing northward as we go through the day on Thursday. And this is now at 10 o'clock in the morning. That 0 is at Cape May, and this is where we're going to start to get that warm air advecting northward. So this is where you're talking about, Joe, with respect to that thump. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that 0 line is still down just north of Atlantic City, maybe right around Seaside Heights, New Jersey there, and it kind of curls around north of Trenton. So anything that's north of there, you would probably want to favor snow. And the line that's running across eastern Long Island to the Hudson Valley, that's the -3. And now by 7 o'clock, it looks like it's got that 0 a little bit further north and a bit faster, up through central Long Island and in northern New Jersey. So
that's quite a jump over a 6-hour interval, right?
All right, so yeah, it is. Yeah. So let's see what's happening. That's a good sign of a thump, because that means that the air is what we call forcing. Right.
The forcing of the atmosphere, literally squeezing the damp sponge, so to speak. And if it's cold enough, it's gonna bring down some snow.
So here's this is the NAM. I've jumped all the way to the relevant time frame now. So we're looking at 4 a.m. on Thursday, and you're seeing sleet and freezing rain in the mountains of western Virginia and in West Virginia. They're going to get quite the icing event there. The atmosphere actually cools enough that it changes it over to snow for a few hours, and then you start to move it northward. Now, this is at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The precip is just at the doorstep of New York City. You're snowing, and it seems like the NAM is having it snow fairly hard in southeastern PA. 4 p.m., central New Jersey, Long Island, up to Route 84, looks like the northern edge, and some embedded heavier snow in there. And then by 7 o'clock, it's gone over to sleet. So it looks like, Joe, you know, a 4 to 6 hour shot.
Right.
And then it goes over to sleet. And let's carry it over further. So we'll go into the night. And
now that's crazy.
What, that dry slot?
That all of a sudden, it's just like you're waiting for it to change to rain. It never changes to rain. Everything just shuts down.
It just shuts down. There's this warm advection snow that comes up. And, you know, this can work in both directions, by the way. We both have seen instances like this where the warm advection comes up and it's very impressive. And you get, you know, in a very short period of time that you put down, you know, it snows at like 1 to 2 inches an hour for about 4 hours or so, and you put down a quick 4 or 5 inches. And then we've also seen it where it just hits that cold, dry air and starts to fall apart. Looks like the NAM at least wants to hold on to this.
Right.
And then we get this dry slot, and it comes back because the upper support is swinging around, and you got a surface low there that's sitting over Delaware. That's really with the upper low, bringing in a little bit of rain here Friday morning, and then out it goes to the northeast. And weather conditions are improving by mid to late morning on Friday.
Right. The sun may be out by midday or afternoon on Friday.
So really the bulk of this is 4 to 6 hours worth, if you believe the NAM. Although if you look up in the northwestern counties and on up into northeastern New Jersey, you do, during the overnight, get into some sleet and freezing rain, and particularly in the Hudson Valley.
Right.
All right. So let's see what it does for snow. We're going to use the positive snow growth because I think that's the one that's more reasonable. It'll take it into account the melting.
We had a storm. It was a Saturday last winter. I forget what the date was. I used to know this thing right off the top of my head, but it was on a Saturday, and it took a lot of people. It took us by surprise. It took me by surprise how intense the snow was. It came in, and it was snowing like crazy, and all of a sudden everything shut down.
It just shuts off.
It just shuts off.
It happens like that sometimes. I think this is not unreasonable. The NAM's forecast here is actually a matchup to what we're forecasting anyway with regards to our own forecast. The NAM seems to be very consistent with that. 5 that you see there
would be over the Catskills.
Correct.
So that's, you know, that's orographically enhanced, as we say, due to the elevation. But 4, you know, anyway, 2 to 4. Or,
I think that, I think that's perfectly reasonable.
I see the 2 down near the coastal plain of Connecticut, so wherever that is, maybe
Bridgeport.
So
the 4 that's up on the Rockland-Orange border.
New City or maybe Suffern or whatever. So.
And you've got some, you know, you go down into coastal New Jersey, you have nothing, and that's all rain. You go to eastern Long Island on the Twin Forks, that's all rain. But for, you know, central and western Suffolk and Nassau, a coating to an inch or two back to New York City. Again, I think that's very consistent with what we're having, and the model seems to be very consistent with this. With regards to what it's forecasting.
Quite unlike some of the 10-to-1 ratio from some of the models giving us like 14 inches or something. That's
this is why you can't use these snow maps. I know, you know, they fly around. This is always a problem. They fly around on social media. They're put up there, you know, they are put up there with absolutely no context. Here's the wider view so you can watch it evolve on the NAM with this low coming up. And the NAM has been pretty consistent here. That second low is because of the upper low coming by, and we can take a look at that. And I would just say, Joe, the only thing I would be a little bit careful with is the fact that this upper low, which is the remnant of the trough that went through here, it just splits off, cuts off. It's very vigorous, and the one thing that concerns me a little about it is you know, if it winds up being staying vigorous for you know, right through here, because it really does kind of hold it together, and it moves the upper low almost on top of us, and sometimes you can get some, you know, weird stuff that happens in situations like this. Well, maybe, or you know, it seems
have to be a low top thunderstorm type of situation.
Well, it's definitely responsible for firing up the frozen and freezing precip that you see in the Hudson Valley and back in the northwest New Jersey later Thursday night after that dry slot plays itself out. So we might want to watch the track of that upper low in case it winds up changing. And then after that, you know, we're going into the weekend. I really don't see too much going on. It looks like this pattern of storms every 2 or 3 days is going to relax a bit, although we do have a front that might come through over the weekend. With you know, you can see the snow that's moving along here up in Wisconsin and into Michigan. There's a front with a very cold high behind it, and that's going to be heading our way for probably what, late Sunday,
well,
Sunday night into Monday.
If it doesn't shear off to the north and just bring us a lot of peripheral cloud cover, it's possible we could see some snow shower or flurry activity. I think Sunday night or maybe early Monday, and I have to keep an eye on that for my son because my son is a teacher. And they're having some sort of conference in Rochester that'll run from Saturday through Tuesday. And so he wants me to tell him, you know, what the situation is in regard to snow. There was one year where he had to leave early because they were going to have an outbreak of lake effect. And he was curious as to whether or not that might happen again. A front like that could bring a brief little round of lake effect snow showers. And
oh yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
All right, so you know what? Let's go to the board where everybody is, and we can talk. Okay, well, Destiny Watkins, just so you know, Joe and I do not close airports, nor are we responsible for flight delays. I think it's pretty well a commonplace that whenever there's weather around, that you're going to have flight delays for Thursday night. So you got to check with your airline. Every airport has its own criteria with regards to this sort of thing, and we don't know what that is. But in terms of, if you know, all we can say is, will there be weather going on at the local airports Thursday evening? Yes. Could they cause flight delays? Sure. But you got to check with your local airport and check with your airline.
Jason Schaefer says, I'm skeptical that the surface temperatures will sub-zero in the New York City metro.
Are you talking
Sub-zero?
I think he means getting down to, you know, the freezing more.
Sub-freezing.
I think
sub-zero, so he's talking Celsius. So.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. I think we're going to see temperatures Thursday morning. Everybody, I think, is going to be under 30 to Thursday morning. That's my bet. Even the warmer urban centers are going to get into the 20s.
In fact, there's a freeze watch posted for 4 of the 5 boroughs. The most rural borough, Staten Island, I think has already been below freezing, but Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Queens, underneath that freeze watch beginning midnight tomorrow night, running through 9 a.m. on Thursday morning. And other advisories, I'm sure, to come.
I just wanted to say hi to Cynthia Guignautis, who's been silent lately, but she has appeared tonight. Just watch for 4 to maybe 6 inches in parts of north central PA. With this system, Cynthia, you definitely got the cold air there, and parts of Pennsylvania, central PA, are also going to change over to sleet and freezing rain, so that is a risk with this particular system. I also saw Joe Alloy, who's in a good place to be. I won't say where, just suffice to say that if you had to pick a place to be when the weather's like this, he's picked a good place.
Miami?
And enjoying place. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, he says I'm flying home from the Bahamas on a flight supposed to land at 3 at Kennedy. On Thursday, I think it's probably going to be snowing at that point, or maybe snow, sleet, and some rain because Kennedy being so close to the shore and the ocean water temperatures being a bit on the warm side.
Well, first of all,
but I think you're going to probably have some delays there, Joe. That's my guess.
Well, this stuff will start stacking up, I'm sure. Not so much with what's happening at 3 o'clock that afternoon at JFK, but places further down the coast. And that, of course, is like a domino effect. That affects all the other airports. So, yeah, there probably will be a bit of a delay.
Right. Brandon Doherty, yeah, you can't use that. You can't really use those 10-to-1 ratio maps in a situation like this.
I just want to see the food.
Yeah, go ahead. You can't use the 10-to-1 ratio maps in a situation like this because it's even if the snow ratio is 10-to-1, and it might be, maybe it'll be 9-to-1 or 8-to-1, you can sort of make some adjustments with that. But you're going to have a lot of that, some of that precip, and maybe a good chunk of it in some places is going to fall as sleet, or maybe some freezing rain. There'll be some melting. So, no, I think at the very least you got to cut those in half. And I don't, if you wind up with a solid thump of snow, as Joe described, and sometimes in these warm advection cases, you could have, you could snow pretty hard for a couple of hours and put down 3 or 4 inches in a hurry. But
okay, Joe?
That's a short-range problem. Okay, go ahead. What do you got?
Okay, from 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock on Thursday, 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. at LaGuardia, the Foose is pumping out .62.
Okay, so...
And they have a vertical velocity. The peak vertical velocity is... actually, there are 2 peaks. That at 48 hours, at 7 p.m. on Thursday, plus 11.2 VV.
Wow.
And the thickness at LaGuardia is 49. The T1 temperature is 0.
This is at 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock Thursday evening.
Well, look, if you want to be conservative, if you want to be conservative, Joe, I think you could take that precip amount, 6/10. Let's round it off. 6/10.
Right.
Okay, cut it in half. I think that's, reasonable. That would say 2 or 3 inches for LaGuardia before any changeover.
And here's something
Not
else.
impossible.
Here's something else. The largest VV that's being indicated on the Foose at 60 hours, and that's when the upper low is directly overhead, is plus 14.3.
Wow.
And they are indicating by then 47 and a T1 of plus 3. 547 thickness, plus 3 on the T1. What is interesting to me is that the lifted index goes down to 0. It goes from 16 plus 16 at 48 hours to 0. So yeah, they may be with that upper low. Don't be surprised.
You got to watch that. We got to watch that upper low.
A rumble of 2 of thunder, or maybe a flash or 2 of lightning.
And places north and west of the track of the upper low might have additional, snow and sleet issues. I really think we need to watch how that upper low tracks and how it evolves. That might be a little bit of a wild card in here.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to wind up with an upside surprise. I really think in a situation like this, you got to really look at possibilities of upside surprises. And by the way, this is the first. Am I right? This is the first time for most of the area. You have to go back to November 7th of 2012 for accumulating snow in the month of November. Or at least this early, anyway.
Right, and that was for those of you just to remind you of that. That was the same year that we had Sandy, and that was also the year that we had significant snow the day after Election Day. So that was the one time. Whenever I was on election night, I rarely was ever called on, and they actually called on me a couple of times that night because of the fact that we were expecting a big snowfall the next day. So it was kind of interesting, but that was the last time that we had, I think, a significant fall of snow in November.
Right.
Was in 2012.
Bob Wilson, important point of elevation having impact with this. Even though it is going to be cold, even for areas that don't have a lot of elevation, but elevation is going to play a role in New Jersey and in the Hudson Valley, and I think you could wind up with, that's where in those places you could wind up with some upside surprises. And Frank La Salandra, Southwest Connecticut, a couple of inches. Yeah, if you're south of 15, I think you could wind up with maybe a coating to a slushy couple of inches. If you're north of 15, you may wind up with a bit more. As you get up closer to Route 84, I think you could wind up with more than that. I'm just trying to see. November 7th, 2012, Ali Fadil mentions that where he is in Connecticut, they had a foot of snow, and that was, again, that's that post-Sandy system. I had 3 at my house in central Suffolk and in western Suffolk, in South Huntington, for example, which is just north of the LIE.
Right.
They had about 9 to 10 inches. And in fact, it closed. The schools couldn't even reopen from Sandy. They were about to reopen from Sandy, and then they had to shut down for an extra week.
Unbelievable.
And they couldn't plow the snow out because there was nobody to run the trucks. They were all busy trying to get everybody's power back.
Right. Oh, it was horrible. Well, we've got something interesting to watch then on Thursday, late Thursday. And as I just said to Mike Gilliam, the news anchor at the Lower Hudson Valley part of our FiOS 1 news team, just a little while ago, I said this is going to be a major speed bump weather-wise, Thursday late into Thursday night. But the nice thing is that once we get over the bump, we should have a nice stretch of relatively tranquil weather, save for maybe a flurry or some snow showers.
It's not going to get that warm next week. It actually is going to be on the chilly side, but at least we're going to have to take a break from the storms unless there's another last-minute evolution of something like we kind of saw with what happened this week.
Which we have seen in the past, yes.
All right, so we should also mention, too, Joe, that because tomorrow, for Thursday, this being the first snow system of the season, even if it winds up being a coating, as little as a coating to an inch or two, it is going to have impact on roadways because guess what? Everybody forgot how to drive in snow. So this is the kind of situation where you wind up with a lot of accidents on the roadway. So just bear that in mind. It's not going to take much to cause problems on Thursday, whether you're on the coast or you're in inland areas.
Be extra careful because again you talk about the heavy snowfalls or the heavy doses of precipitation, and sometimes it's just those little snow accumulations, those little snow amounts, especially when it involves ice or sleet, that can really do you in. And this looks like one of those scenarios coming up. That Thursday afternoon and evening commute home from work and school could be really problematic, and take it extra easy that afternoon, evening.
All right, so look, let's wrap it up here. You've got FiOS 1 News Hudson Valley coming up at the top of the hour.
And you've got FiOS 1 News Long Island and FiOS 1 News New Jersey. Right. And I didn't mean this to happen, but a while back I put in for 3 days off. I'm going to be off these next 3 days, so Joe's going to be taking care of everything, and hope everything goes
smoothly.
Okay.
Well, I hope so too. Just before we say goodbye, if you joined late, just want to mention if you have an Android mobile device, you can download my weather app. It's for free. It'll keep you updated on all my forecasts and website posts. They'll come up on the app seamlessly without any problems. Again, this is just for Android devices. You can subscribe for free. It doesn't cost you anything. If you want to wrap it up together with my Patreon platform, I put that link up too. That one is a subscription base, but that's up to you. But the app is free for Android users, and hopefully in another week, keep your fingers crossed, I'll have the iPhone version out as well.
You got anything for my rotary phone at home?
Yeah, you know what? We got you off the flip phone. They got you off the flip phone, Mrs. Rayo and your daughter, and they got you on the smartphone. Now, if I can only get you to Skype online again so that when you are away, we can bring you into the Joe and Joe show from Skype. Hello? Is this ringing a bell?
It'll happen.
Yeah, okay.
One day.
I hope so. Let's get this done before the winter gets underway.
Okay.
Our audience is begging for you, Joe.
All right. No.
All right, have a great evening, everybody, and I'll be here tomorrow, so I'll see you tomorrow.
See you later, guys.